What's up, Cougars? Most sports talk shows like to overcomplicate college football. They talk about recruiting rankings and massive budgets like they are the only things that matter. But sometimes a program comes along that ignores the standard playbook and builds something unique. And BYU is basically the poster child for a truly unique in college football. Tucked in the mountains in Utah, this private religious school has become a total anomaly in the sports world. They operate differently. They think differently. And because of that, they've created a global brand that honestly defies all expectations. So whether you are a diehard fan or just a fan of college football in general, you have to respect the program that they've built and the way that they have sustained relevance in a sport designed to keep little guys down. So get ready, Cougars, because today we are counting down the top 15 reasons that BYU football is simply great. Number one is the 1984 National Championship. This is the crown jewel of the entire operation. Back in the 1980s, the college football system was heavily rigged against schools outside of power conferences. The big schools controlled the narrative and the polls. But in 1984, BYU did the unthinkable. They looked at the system, they shrugged, and decided to just win every single game. They went 13-0. They were the only undefeated team in the entire country that year. The establishment hated it. Critics tried to say their schedule was too weak. They tried to keep them out of the conversation. But BYU capped it off by beating Michigan in the Holiday Bowl, and the voters had no choice but to crown them. It remains the last time a team from outside the major power structure won a consensus national title. It proved that if you execute your system perfectly, even the impossible becomes possible. Number two is the legend of LaVell Edwards. Every great organization has a visionary who sees the future before anyone else. For BYU, that was LaVell Edwards. Before he took over, BYU was barely an afterthought in the football world. They were just winning a handful of games and running a boring offense. LaVell changed the entire paradigm. While every other coach in America was obsessed with running the ball and playing conservatively, LaVell decided to throw it. He didn't just throw it a little bit. He threw it all over the yard. He revolutionized the vertical passing game decades before it became the standard that we see it as today. He laid the groundwork for the modern air raid offenses you see lighting up scoreboards today. He coached for 29 seasons and racked up 257 wins. He wasn't just a coach, he was a father figure who defined the program's values. There's a reason the stadium is named after him. He taught us that innovation beats tradition every single time. Number three is quarterback U. If you want to understand process thinking, look at how BYU produces quarterbacks. For decades, Provo was the place you went if you wanted to be an elite passer. It was like a factory assembly line for greatness. We're talking about a lineage that is basically royalty. You have guys like Gifford Nielsen and Mark Wilson starting it off. Then comes the punk rock attitude of Jim McMahon, the surgical precision of Steve Young, and then Ty Detmer comes along and shatters every record in the book. The school has a Heisman winner in Detmer and an NFL Hall of Famer in Young. They have multiple Super Bowl winners. Even recently, they put Zach Wilson into the league as a top draft pick. Most schools are lucky to have one legendary quarterback in their history. BYU built out a system that churns them out every few years. Number four is the Holy War, a personal favorite of mine. This is the rivalry with the University of Utah, and let me tell you, it is always personal. Most rivalries are based on geography. The rivalry here, though, is based on ideology. It is often viewed as church versus state or red versus blue. It splits families down the middle. You have neighbors who don't talk to each other for an entire week leading up to the game. The hatred here is palpable. But the best part is that the game almost always delivers. So many of these matchups come down to the final few plays of the game. The bragging rights here don't just last for a news cycle. They last for 365 days until they tee it up again. It creates an atmosphere of pressure that turns average players into legends and legends into GOATs. Number 5 is the stadium we talked about, Lavelle Edwards Stadium. If we're being honest, most stadiums are just concrete bowls. But Lavelle Edwards Stadium is a postcard. It sits directly at the base of the mountains. When you are sitting in the stands, you are looking straight up at Y Mountain. There's a specific moment during evening games you have to see to believe. The sun starts to set, and you get this alpine glow that hits the mountain peaks. It turns the mountains purple and pink when the sky goes dark. There is no better backdrop in all of sports. But don't let the beauty fool you. When you pack 63,000 fans in there, the noise level gets absolutely deafening. It traps the sound, and it makes it a nightmare for opposing teams. Number 6 is the Miracle Bowl. Some of you may remember we talked about this on our Christmas Day special. It happened in the 1980 Holiday Bowl against SMU. This game taught us that it is never truly over until the clock hits 0. BYU was down 45-25 with just 4 minutes left in the game. Statistically, it was over. The fans were leaving the stadium to beat traffic, but Jim McMahon refused to quit. He led a furious rally that defied all logic. It came down to one final play with time expired. McMahon threw a Hail Mary pass into a crowd of defenders in the end zone, and Clay Brown somehow came down with it for the touchdown. The Cougars kicked the extra point to win 46-45. It's arguably one of the greatest comebacks in not only college football history, but sports history. And the program was put on the map and proved that they could perform miracles. Number 7 is The Rock. That stands for the Roar of Cougars. This is the student section, and they are organized chaos. They occupy the lower stands right behind the end zone. This creates a literal wall of noise for the opposing offense. If a team is trying to score in that end zone, they can't hear themselves think. But it's not just about the noise, it's about the traditions that are totally unique. They do the swag surf in perfect unison. They have synchronized jumping that literally shakes the camera feeds on your TV. They have cheers that go from total silence to an explosion of sound in a split second. They are a legitimate 12th man that does impact the outcome of games. Number 8 is Ty Detmer's Heisman Trophy. This happened in 1990, and it was a massive statement. The Heisman Trophy usually goes to players from big schools, but Ty Detmer was different. He didn't look like a classic quarterback. He wasn't the biggest guy on the field, but he was the smartest. He operated the offense with a level of efficiency that drove defenses insane. He defeated heavyweights like Rocket Ismail from Notre Dame to win the award. The moment that solidified his campaign was when BYU beat the number 1 ranked Miami Hurricanes in Provo. That Miami team was full of future NFL stars and had a swagger that intimidated everyone. But Ty and BYU didn't care. They stood toe-to-toe with the Giants and took him down. Number 9 is Cougar Tails and Creamery Ice Cream. We need to talk about the food because it's a key part of the experience. First, you have the Cougar Tail. This is a maple bar donut. Maple is my favorite donut, just in case you were wondering. But it has been scaled up. It is roughly 16 inches long. It's a sugary challenge that every fan feels obligated to attempt. You'll see rows of people trying to take down these massive donuts in the stands. Then you have the BYU Creamery. The university makes its own ice cream, and it's elite from what I hear. Flavors like Bishop's Bash and Graham Canyon are legendary. It doesn't matter if it's freezing cold in November on a chilly night, you'll see thousands of fans eating ice cream while shivering in their coats. It makes no sense to this Florida boy, but it is tradition. Number 10 is Cosmo the Cougar. Most mascots are just a random student in a sweaty suit waving at kids. Cosmo's a legit athlete. He's become a viral internet sensation because of his stunts. You'll see him doing backflips from the three-point line in basketball games. You'll see him doing push-ups on barriers way up in the air. But his real claim to fame is the dancing. He performs with the Cougarettes, which is the school's national championship level dance team. He learns their complex choreography and hits every single move perfectly. Videos of Cosmo dancing consistently go viral on social media because people can't believe a mascot can move like that. He is arguably the most athletic mascot in the entire country. Number 11 is the mission factor. This is a unique roster dynamic that you don't see anywhere else. It's a massive competitive advantage. Some of the players at BYU take a 2-year hiatus to serve religious missions for their church. They go out into the world, learn a new language, and mature as human beings. When they come back, they're 21 or 22-year-old freshmen at times. Sure, they have to get back into football shape after 2 years off, but once they do, you have a roster with several grown men. They have that grown men strength and a level of emotional maturity that younger teams cannot match. It makes the team tougher and more resilient in close games. Number 12 is the family-friendly environment. As a dad with 3 small kids, let's be very real about college football environments. Most of them are fueled by alcohol and partying. BYU is different. It's obviously a dry stadium, meaning there's no alcohol sold or allowed. People might think that makes it boring, but it actually creates a different kind of energy. The atmosphere is safe and clean. It's a place where you can bring those young kids without worrying about what they'll see or hear. The energy comes from pure passion from the team and probably all the sugar from the Cougar Tails, if we're being honest, but it does prove that you don't necessarily need booze to have an electric game day atmosphere. Number 13 is modern NFL stars. You might think BYU is just living in the past with Steve Young and Jim McMahon, but the factory is still running at full capacity. They're currently churning out elite NFL talent. Look at Puka Nacua. Came out of nowhere to break the rookie receiving record and become an instant NFL superstar. Look at Fred Warner. He's widely considered the best linebacker in the entire league right now. Then you have Taysom Hill, the ultimate Swiss Army knife player, playing quarterback, tight end, running back, and special teams. He's created a unique position for himself in the league just by being a phenomenal athlete. And we can't forget about Andy Reid. He's not a player, but the head coach of the Chiefs is a BYU grad and a former player who has built a dynasty in Kansas City. The influence of this school on the modern NFL is massive. Number 14 is Big 12 membership. For a long time, BYU operated as an independent team. That was hard because they had to piece together their schedule every year. But now they are back in a power conference. Joining the Big 12 was a massive validation of the program's brand. It means late season games actually matter for conference championships. Fans love hosting teams like Kansas State or OK State or TCU in meaningful games because it brings a new level of weekly excitement to Provo. It proves that BYU belongs at the table. And number 15 is a global Cougar nation. This is the final piece of the puzzle. Because of the school's affiliation with the church, their fan base is not limited to Utah or its surrounding areas. They have fans in every single corner of the globe. I saw your comments on a previous video. I know how far some of you are watching from. When BYU plays a road game, it is something to behold. Whether they're playing in Arizona, California, or Florida, the stadium is often filled with 30 to 50% BYU fans. They travel incredibly well. They turn away games into neutral site atmospheres. It's a testament to the loyalty of the fan base. No matter where the team goes, Cougar Nation shows up in force. So there you have it. BYU is a mix of high-flying offense, deep roots, and a stadium experience that looks like a painting. They do things their own way, and they apologize to nobody for it. I want to know what you think. What's your favorite memory or favorite tradition or maybe favorite thing we've mentioned or even forgotten from BYU football history? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure that you are subscribed to Big 12 Football Addiction, where you'll find most of our BYU content now. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one.